What's happening, gardeners? I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. It is 70 degrees today and we are in the middle of the heartbreak season. So it's going to be 70 today and then 20 in 2 days at night. So I don't know. But we're going to talk about things that I'm going to plant this month and seeds that I'm going to start. And I'm going to show you kind of what my idea is for January. Before I get any questions about this, I'm in zone 8A. And if you're in zone 7 or 6, you can just adjust your dates accordingly. But always follow your weather forecast. They will help you decide what to do as best as possible for the season that you're in. But the first thing I'm going to put into the ground is going to be my onions. I'm going to show you where I'm going to put them. Hopefully next week I'll be topping off my beds with soil. And I'm going to put 3 rows of onions right here. At minimum 2 rows. I haven't decided. I might do a 3rd row of carrots. But we're going to put the onions here. And this is where they're going to sit until probably June. Until we harvest them. So we need to make sure that we get this plan right. But the onions are going to be first. And then over in the wild garden, I'm gonna put our onions right along this row here. So we'll be putting them in there, and then that'll give us a good jump start on that season. These are all from transplants that I've done. I could seed them if I wanted, but I've never had really good luck seeding them in the ground and getting them started. So I just decided to do transplants this year, and we're gonna give it a shot. Now, the next thing, it can be difficult in my zone depending on the weather. So if it's too hot, then, well, actually this time of year, too hot is a relative term for most people. But if it's too warm, I'm very cautious because I know it can get cold again and I don't want to get too excited. But the other one's going to be cabbage. So cabbage is going to be something that if I don't put it in January, it'll be definitely in February. It just really depends on the weather. And so we're going to put it in this bed back here behind us. And this front row right here is reserved for cabbage. So we'll put probably 8 cabbage plants in there. We may do a 2nd row. I'll do another video coming up where I actually show you my garden plan that I've come out so far. And we'll kind of see how that goes. But we're going to leave our Brussels sprouts there because check this out. There is no way I'm removing my Brussels sprouts. Look at that. We got some sprouts. So I'm pretty sure that I need to trim this plant up, but we're gonna get some sprouts this year, so I'm super happy about that. So we're not gonna pull these up. Now in a month it could be different. I expect within a month we'll probably be harvesting our Brussels sprouts from there. So we could possibly pull up this plant here and then have our continuous row coming down. And I also don't want to pull up my mustard because of the whole possum greenhouse situation. Our mustard harvest kind of got jacked up a little bit. Now I may very well start some more seeds for mustard if I do decide to pull up some mustard and plant, but we'll kind of see what the plan is with that. Because this is all part of my plan to stop planting, and I was talking about on the Backyard Gardens podcast the other day, in columns and doing rows instead, so going long ways against my beds. And I've been really tempted to just pull everything up and start over, but I want to give everything a fair shot, and I want to continue to get my harvest that I've been getting. And we haven't been getting crazy amounts because it's that time of year, but we're coming into that time of year where this stuff is really going to start to grow. So we've been eating on it slowly but surely. And I don't want to just kind of ruin anything right off the bat. Now for January, that's really about all that's definitely going in January. The other thing too is if this broccoli right here, which I'm going to show you, gets ready, which I really hope it does get ready soon, because you can see we are indeed getting some heads, and they have actually doubled in size over this week. This little bit of warm weather is really doing a number. So hopefully, and just hopefully, we can get this harvested and get it out of here. Because in February, we're going to put our potatoes in here, in this bed. Correction, I'm not going to put the potatoes in there. My son is going to put the potatoes in there. And unfortunately, that does mean that we're going to have to lose the cabbages that are in there, but I would rather have potatoes than cabbages personally. We've got plenty of other opportunities. So we may also replant some broccoli before then in other parts of our garden, but we're not totally sure because that's, again, it's going to be weather dependent. If the weather has been really cold, then we won't. But if we start getting more days like this, and it's always going to get down cold, but they can take the cold, but we want to be able to get them situated in the ground just right. And I'll show you in a minute all of my seedlings, and we can see how they're doing. And so then, like any kind of green, for instance, kale, collards, and mustard is a definite, cilantro, and maybe spinach, anything like that, there's a very strong possibility that we could put in this month, as long as it's not getting super cold when we go to plant them. Now, I'm not personally ready for that. I'm pretty close on the kale, and we'll look at that in a minute too. But everything else, they can definitely take the cold, so that's not out of the question completely. And I'd rather get them in sooner than later so I can get a bigger jump start and start harvesting them earlier. And the last one's gonna be lettuce. So lettuce can be really difficult. I'm probably not gonna do it until February, but these days like this make me think that it is a possibility that we can do it. So we'll kind of see. Now we'll also be direct seeding turnips out here too. And we may be doing some plugs from the greenhouse, but you know, the whole possum situation, so let's check that out. So it's been a couple days since then, and I've been cleaning everything out, and I'm just gonna leave these out here. They look like they're perking up a little bit, so if they start to stand up, then we'll definitely plant these out there. And that's the goal, is to put those out there. And same with that yodfa there, which I'm gonna go ahead and classify that with the broccoli. We just kind of have to see how that's gonna bounce back, but time will tell. It's only been a couple days, and I'm just gonna leave them sitting right here in the middle, right in the way actually, just where the sun's gonna hit them and they can be acclimatized to this particular area. Now we're gonna go inside and check on the seedlings, and I'll show you like what's getting pretty close to being ready. And I do wanna say this, anything that I just mentioned, all of what I've just mentioned is full game to go in the greenhouse at this point. So we're still letting it's the smells out of there from our friend, and the feces has been taken out of there. At this point, I'm just gonna wait just a couple days, really through maybe the weekend, to see if any kind of urine or anything could have had any kind of dieback within the greenhouse, any kind of effects, and then we'll know what we can do moving forward and what's been contaminated. But I don't think it was that bad. So the seeds here, we've got a lot of different stages going on, and this is a good indication of what's gonna actually make it into my garden right now, because I try not to buy any transplants. So we'll start with what's just been planted, and then we'll kind of work our way down. So we've got all this lettuce here, and it's not very big now, but in just 2 weeks, it's gonna be probably double that size and almost ready to go outside. So we have a target date of putting these 3 rows of lettuce somewhere within the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. So, and we're actually gonna start another full, I think this was a 72 tray cell of just lettuce right here in this spot. And then all these peppers, they just finally came up. So they've been really slow, and they're still popping slowly, but these have a ways to go. I mean, it's not even really worth talking about. Now, remember I said the kale. So the kale is definitely, I mean, I fertilized the other day and it literally doubled in size in just a matter of a couple days. So at this point, this is fully capable of being hardened off and put outside. So we'll probably end up doing that within the next week or so. So that is another one that we're gonna be planting outside. And we're also gonna be starting more of these seeds, more than likely. And then the rutabagas, we just need a couple warm days, and I'm actually battling some overwatering issues. You can see the yellowing a little bit on some of them, but we're gonna fertilize these again, get them a nice little jump start, and then they should be off to the races. And then our collards, same thing. These, at this point, they are almost fully ready to go, harden off. We got a little bit more time. I'd like them for them to be a little bit bigger. The leaves be a little bit more sturdy before we put them out. But these will definitely go out too within the next couple weeks as well. So we've got a bunch of broccoli here, and I haven't had to lift my light up yet, but I'm very close to it. So once I lift my light up and they kind of catch up to it again, so maybe like right there, then that'll be time to put out, and that could very well be in a week or so. I mean, these are all looking really strong right now. I really want to try and see how it gets kind of crooked like this. I'm going to try and avoid that a little bit. So I want to keep the light as low as possible for as long as possible. But all of these are going to be ready to go very soon too. And the cabbages, which are first in this list to go out, let me get the heat tray, the heat mat cords out of here. They are looking really strong as well. And I'd say about, it's kind of, they've done a little differently this year, but it looks like out of all the trays, 50% of each 6-pack is ready to go and the other isn't. So, I mean, like you can see here, like this one's not ready, but this one could go out, or the one in the back actually is a little bit better. So we're gonna let that just catch up a little bit. So it's good not to be in a big rush. And we'll start more of these seeds next week as well. As we get closer to February, it gets really busy as far as starting seeds go, because we still have to start some of our flowers. We're gonna redo a couple of these just to make sure that we have enough in case people want some or need some. And then we're gonna plant some out. So there's gonna be a lot of turning around. So, and the good thing about it is, so far the way we've planned this is, you know, we'll be able to move these trays out, and then when we move them out, we can replace them with something else too, because we still have to start our tomatoes, which is one of our biggest ones to start for the rest of the year. And my goal, honestly, is to be about come March, roughly, that we have 2 of these shelves empty. So I have 3 shelves total. I'd like to have 2 of them empty, because once we repot, they're all going to be filled up, and we're probably still going to have some overload. So, you know, January is kind of, the beginning of January is slow for us, but then it speeds up really fast. And this weather, I mean, I was looking at it, it's going to be 20 degrees this weekend, and then next week it's going to be back up into the 60s, maybe 70 during the day, and then 50s to 40s at night, which is like perfect planting for your brassicas and your cole crops and stuff like that. So we'll see. Now, I'll do a video when I plant this stuff out. The first thing I got to do, though, is I've got to get my beds topped off with some topsoil. I'm not going to put compost in them, but I'll do a video about that as well, because that's something that I'm testing out this year, and I've seen some interesting results. So we're going to kind of just see how that goes. But once we get that topped off, then we can start planting our onions first thing. And if I don't get it soon enough, then we're probably going to be doing our onions and cabbages at the same time. So we'll see how that works. But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to check on my Brussels sprouts. So if you like this video, subscribe.